Hi folks, good to see you again here. If you want to hear the craziest stories and situations people have been in throughout their life, I suggest you to hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. Let's bounce straight to the video. Found out that my 25 female boyfriend's 25 male dad 44 male is my ex-friend with benefits. My boyfriend and I met through a mutual friend and started dating a few months ago. We're head over heels for each other. This weekend I met his parents. We went over to their house to have dinner. The moment I see his dad, it hits me he's my ex-friend with benefits. We hooked up regularly, met through a dating app for about a year, until a year ago when he told me that he wanted to start seeing someone and for our fling to end. I was, of course, okay with this. The woman that he wanted to date then, and for which he stopped our ex sessions, is my boyfriend's stepmom. I guess the entire meeting was uncomfortable and awkward to say the least. His dad and I didn't exchange any words in private. I could barely look him in the eyes at the dinner table. Anyway, we eventually leave, and I text him about the entire situation. He said that if I want to date his son long term, I can't tell him what happened between us, and we have to act casual around each other. The past is the past after all. Ever since then I've been constantly thinking whether I should be honest with my boyfriend or not. I don't want to keep any secrets from him, and it also makes me feel kind of uneasy since it's a pretty important detail to be hiding from somebody, especially your significant other. I don't want to lose him either because I really love him a lot. What do you suggest I should do? Update. In the end, I've decided to tell my boyfriend everything. But first I wanted to get to the bottom of what went down with his dad and now wife. Apparently, he really wasn't cheating, surprisingly. Yes. They've been together for a few years now, but up until the point of marriage, when he broke off our friend with benefits arrangement, they were in an open relationship. I even talked with the wife on the phone, and she confirmed this. So yeah. Thankfully the dad isn't a cheating piece of crap after all. And I wasn't his mistress. He told me that he wanted me not to tell my boyfriend, because he truly didn't want him to get hurt, and wished our relationship would go on as smoothly as possible. But if I really felt like the right thing to do is to tell him, I can go ahead. So I did. I sat my boyfriend down and just told him everything. At first he was shocked, then angry, and then he started to calm down a little bit. He told me he needed time to think about it, and what his decision is about the future of our relationship, so I said okay and gave him space and time. Today, he called me to meet up. He said that after a lot of thought he decided that he wanted to continue with our relationship, since what happened in the past wasn't done with ill intent. So basically, he said that the past is the past and the present is the present, and we should just live by that. Some people can move on from this. I am not one of those people. Neither could I. Imagine your father had ex with your girlfriend, finesse, wife, and ultimately mother of your children. That would eat me alive inside. Man, that sounds awkward as duck. It's nice that they were all mature about it. Can't help but imagine if they had kids who found out mom used to do this kind of stuff. Thank you for this update. I really wanted to know how this one worked out. I was relieved she told him. You can't have a relationship with this giant, a secret hidden in it. It was bound to come out someday, and that would be so much worse than not telling him in the beginning. Most people do not want to know their partner could keep something this huge from them. I agree. As weirded out as people are being about the age difference and the family thing, the only really huge red flag would have been trying to hide it from her boyfriend. After all, the friend with benefits relationship is only about ex, and it sounded like this one was mature and ended on good terms. They get hella messy if one's a cheater or feelings develop. But it sounds like this is the best possible way to handle this situation. Could you imagine they get married and the dad gives a drunken toast at the reception including how he met the bride? LOL. Lies are relationship enders. You can't get over someone's past if you don't know about it. Second story. My 28 female friend 41 female announced she is getting married next week. I have reason to believe she is lying. Wendy and I have been friends for several years. We used to live in the same city and see one another often. I knew she had a history of traumatic relationships and had hence decided not to date. But I also knew she had a pretty intense crush on a friend of a friend I had never met, James. When I moved to another state, we stayed in touch via phone calls. She told me that her feelings for James were becoming stronger, despite the fact that they had no contact. Soon, she began telling me that they were in love, but his ex-girlfriend was preventing them from being together. Because these conversations became so odd, I stopped the calls and stepped away from the friendship. This week, I visited my former city on an impromptu trip and met up with Wendy. She told me the exciting news that her and James were finally getting married after this ex had kept them apart so long. She showed me photos of a home he bought her, of horses he bought her, and of her in a wedding dress. She told me the name of the venue and invited me. Then she dropped the bombshell that James is apparently a millionaire. All of this seemed off to me, and when I got home, my concerns mounted. Her house was not packed despite the fact she is supposedly moving imminently. Money seems tight for her. She is living in relative squalor. If she has a millionaire fiancé, why isn't he helping her? I did some digging. I found the house she showed me on Zillow. Still for sale. I found the horses on a website for a local ranch that does tours. I called the venue and they told me they are unbooked on the supposed wedding date. All the available evidence tells me that she is not getting married. My gut tells me that her and James are not even in a relationship or have any contact. I don't know what to do next. Do I confront her? Do I warn James? Are these simply lies or are they delusions and the symptom of a serious mental illness? How do I help her? Too long didn't read. My friend claims to be getting married. All evidence points to that being a lie or delusion. Update. So after reading all the responses here, I became increasingly more concerned. A background piece not included in my original post is that all the players in this scenario are connected by a recovery community. Because of this connection, I knew the ex, Ashley, some years ago, and we were still on one another's social media. I decided to reach out and ask about James. That evening Ashley called me, and we then conferenced in James. As it turns out, he is married to another woman, and they have a child. He and Ashley never dated and aren't even really friends. They simply used to chat at a large meeting that was also attended by my friend Wendy. They believe that she saw them speaking there and created a delusion that they had dated, and Ashley was now poisoning James against Wendy. All the while he was married to another woman. Over the course of the last 2 years, Wendy has approached James at multiple meetings with declarations of love. He reiterated to her each time that he was married and stopped attending that meeting to avoid her. But oddly, she ended up at his meetings again and again. She approached his sponsor and friends telling them they were in love. She also approached Ashley threatening her with a restraining order because she believed Ashley was conspiring against James and her as a couple, because they were together now. The second time she approached her, 6 months ago, Ashley called the police and made a report. Until our conference call, Ashley and James didn't realize how they were connected, and they didn't know the extent of the delusions. When I told them about the marriage date, they were very concerned. James called the police. I called the emergency mental health line looking for help. But their only suggestion was to call the police and ask for a welfare check on Wendy, which I did. Knowing that she has no connection to James and is living in a complete delusion made me so concerned for her. Once the wedding date came and she didn't get married, what would happen? How would she mentally process that? I was given a reference number, and when I called back, was told they made contact but did not intake her since she didn't appear dangerous. Since the check, she has ignored my calls. The wedding date came and passed and I heard nothing. At this time I feel like I lost a friend. But she was already gone in these delusions, and I did what I could to help. Going forward, I hope to get updates from other people in the community that she is doing better, and hopefully abandons these delusions. Too long didn't read. There was no wedding or relationship. James is a real person with no connection to Wendy. She was fully delusional. Additional comment from original poster. James said he has asked the police about it, and they said since they haven't even interacted in 6 months last time, she showed up at one of his meetings, and she never threatened him. He can't get one. Final update from original poster in a comment for months later. The update is good and bad. She ended up becoming homeless and losing all of her things. At that rock bottom, her family took her in under the condition she get help. She just started medication and we spoke recently. She's still foggy and not really too in touch with reality, but she is sounding much more like her old self. I am hopeful. The thought of this happening, getting caught in a delusion and unable to distinguish it from reality, is one of the most terrifying things to imagine. Still not quite as scary as being fully conscious while everyone else thinks you're in a coma. I get paranoid delusions. I'm lucky that I can recognize that my thoughts aren't illogical. But it's still intensely frightening that while I know I'm not being watched or recorded, I don't have control over the delusion that I am being watched. It persists until it doesn't anymore. Absolutely no control. I'm very, very lucky that over time I've managed to create a systematic reality check process when I recognize my thoughts aren't being logical. The idea of not having that, of being lost in the delusion, is terrifying. Third story. Trigger. Warning. Unwanted situations. I broke up with my girlfriend over her comments about my best friend. Now everyone is calling me stupid. I don't want to get into much detail about it, but my best friend's 17 male Alex was manipulated by an older woman at the youth center he used to go to. Luckily she was arrested and convicted. Because of this incident, he can't be treated by female doctors or use a female therapist or any woman with medical authority over him. The woman used her medical role to manipulate him. Now me and my girlfriend have been together for 6 months now. We are both 18. I am male and she is female. Last week me, her, Alex and a few other friends all went out for lunch together. Well, due to an event that happened near us that night, that past topic came up. It was clear the whole thing made Alex super uncomfortable. I subtly asked if he wanted to go to the counter to order more drinks with me, an excuse to get away. But he just shook his head. Well, my girlfriend made a comment that caused the whole table to go what the duck. She said that when guys claim they are forced by women, that they are being attention seekers, and that it should count as forced since they have no idea how bad women have it. I yelled at her, asking why on earth she would say some stupid crap like that. She told me not to yell at her, and that she was just voicing her opinion, and that of course she's being talked over because she's a woman. At this point, one of my friends who went to school with us and knew about the incident rushes to Alex's side because he's hyper ventilating, and is shaking so badly. Me and the other friend take Alex outside and call his older brother, who came and picked him up. The next day, I went over to my girlfriend's to talk to her. I told her that what she said was crappy in general, but was especially bad because Alex was a victim of those events. I explained vaguely the situation and how it has impacted Alex. I had permission from Alex to do so. In response, she doubled down, saying that he's a guy, so it wasn't that bad, and that he's being assist with his requirements with medical professionals. The breaking point was when she said that she feels bad for the woman since Alex probably ruined her career. I yelled at her, called her heartless, and told her I could never be with someone like that and that we were over. Well, she's been telling people that I broke up with her because she spoke up against my assist friend. Everyone who wasn't there that day has been messaging me and telling me how bad I messed up by breaking up with her. Some even kept that attitude after I explained what actually happened. I feel like crap because now a lot of people know what happened to Alex and that I let someone like that around him. Today I found out that she keeps messaging him messages about those event statistics, stories from women, and even an article about how the events that happened to Alex is probably the reason he's gay. I broke down at this. Alex is literally my closest and most important friend in the world, and currently, because of me, he can't even open his phone without having a small panic attack. What do I do? Update. Made an impulsive update 48 hours after my original post because of a gross message I got. Luckily, the mod team stopped me from posting it so I could give you guys a proper update. Now they also asked for screenshots of the messages, and the user ended up getting banned from the subreddit, then banned from Reddit as a whole. I just want to thank the mod team for that, because with what was going on at the time, I didn't need messages like that. So it's been a few months since I broke up with my ex. I wanted to thank all of you for your kind comments and suggestions. With my and his older brother's help, Alex contacted the police and reported her harassment of him, as well as filed for a restraining order. Her parents ended up settling outside of court for a small amount and took the money out of my ex's college fund. Alex just wanted the restraining order, but his parents and myself pushed him to get financial compensation. It wasn't much, but it was enough that she could no longer attend her dream school. I know, because she wouldn't stop posting about it for weeks after it happened. She lasted a week before breaking the restraining order and messaging Alex. He just ignored her, and she started pushing the boundaries more, messaging him, getting others. She has a very small group of friends left that still believe her side of the story to message him, tagging him in her posts until he told her to stop. She argued back but backed off when he reminded her of the restraining order and that she shouldn't be contacting him. That was about a month ago, and she hasn't tried to pull anything else since. Second part to the update. While I would defiantly do all the things I did for Alex for any of my friends, I don't think I care for him as just a friend. And it's low-key kind of freaking me out. I don't think I should say anything right now because of what is going on. But even when it might be an appropriate time, I have no idea what I should do. Sorry. Small panicky rant over. Again. Thanks to everyone for helping me and Alex. I hope you all have wonderful days, nights. Fourth story. Urban explorer photographs undressed man found in cave. My friends and I just went in a cave. We found an undressed guy with a blanket on. My friend took a picture, thinking it was a weird X doll. And when we kept going forward, it moved and mumbled. The post included a now deleted image, but I will describe what I remember. It was a quite wide area filled with what looked like pipes holding up scaffolding or a floor. Off to the right was a man on all fours in the device described in the title, facing away from the camera. Not much is seen. Some eagle-eyed commenters point out it looks like he is kneeling on a blanket. Original poster adds details in the comments. It's St. Paul. Across the river from Minneapolis. He kinda mumbled and he must have heard us coming. I don't really remember looking at his face. When he started to move, we all looked at each other and turned around and left. It was so ducking weird, bro. A commenter suggests, call the police or make a report to Crime Stoppers. No need to identify yourself if you don't want to. I think if you don't take some action and report it, you will wonder forever if you left some poor individual to a horrible fate. An original poster replies, I will after seeing everyone say I should. I thought it was just some weird thing for his pleasure. They also add, this is the cave layout. You walk in and that guy was to the right, and then there was a curve left. We first went left and explored the whole cave, and took photos which took like 40 minutes, and then we went back and went right, and that's when we saw him. We didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the other side of the cave, so if they found something it would have had to been FO the right. I doubt there would be anything crazy. The only thing that would be found that would create an ongoing investigation would be a dead body or something. Edit. We called the police and they are on their way to check it out. I have them their entrance and they will go in and see. I told the police it was on Reddit, and they said they could try to find it here because I couldn't send them the picture. A guy's number from Red Wing called me to confirm where the entrance was. Someone called me from Red Wing to confirm the location, and they are looking. 9/11 told me they are trying to find this Reddit post so they can look what he looks like. Update. The cop is there and he found the entrance. I am texting him, and he will keep me updated. Third update. I called 911. I told the dispatch where the cave is. A little later someone called me and asked where it was cause they couldn't find it. He finally texted me that him and his partner found it and they went in. No response back yet. The fourth update was deleted. Fifth update. The police officer texted me at 1 a.m. saying he didn't find anything. So that does mean that this person was a real guy. That is the ending and this is the final update. Some commenters doubt the story, particularly how the cops seem to handle the situation. Why can't you send them a picture? I've had cops give me their card with their department email on it, and I send them pictures. They would not use Reddit to find evidence. Do the cops work very differently in the United States? How are you just texting a random cop? LOL. Others seem to confirm it was plausible. Not to be a downer, but above original poster said this was in St. Paul. Across the river in Minneapolis, the MPD got caught a few years back with a closet full of years' worth of uninvestigated rape kits to add to their history of scandals. St. Paul PD isn't quite as bad, but I wouldn't put too much faith in them as they can be a mixed bag at times. Had a TXAG text me when they prosecuted the dude who stole my car and used it in a string of thefts. After this post, original poster hasn't commented further. But a day later we had someone ask, any update on the undressed guy found in the cave that was posted last night? By user Mazdrathi multiply 7. This post was also deleted, probably for being off topic. The top response from a local confirming the story was true. I am local. Police scanners said they didn't find the guy. Which is good because the cave is popular as hell. And it was just some dude trying to get his kink on. Original poster probably got harassed by locals to delete the post. The cave has parties with scores of people in it. Some of those parties are niche. That crap's not that crazy in there. And also by you little Footerbex tells the story of Can Lemon A legend from the same cave and concludes, in all realness, this cave was once a haunted house attraction. Since its abandonment it has become home to bums and oddballs who spend much of their time scaring the crap out of kids who wander the tunnels. Whether for kicks or to scare explorers away from their campsite. They are usually a harmless addition to abandoned locations. Their stories sometimes being the cherry on top of a very obscure niche hobby. It looks like the haunted house attraction part is called the Tunnel of Terror, and was shut down in 2004 because it was a fire hazard due to not having enough exits. Once again, this is a repost. I am not the original poster. I chose this story because when it was first posted there was a lot of speculation on what was happening, and it really seemed like there was going to be no follow-up. I am glad some people who were local to the area chimed in, and it was interesting to learn about the cave itself being no stranger to this sort of thing. I know the St. Paul caves and have been in them many times. They have been popular hangouts for people forever. Way before 2004 and that haunted attraction. Fun fact: Al Capone used to hide stuff in those caves. It does not surprise me one bit that they'd find a dude in the cave trying to get his freak on. I first started going to them in the 80s. High schoolers go in them to drink, smoke weed, etc. The caves are made of sandstone, which is actually pretty soft. So parents are always warning their teens not to go in there because cave collapse is a real danger. There are so many carvings, graffiti, etc. Also pretty hard to get lost in the caves because over the years people have marked everything well with arrows, etc. The county is always trying to hide the cave entrances, but it's of no use whatsoever. I used to go to them in the mid to late 90s, and most of them you had to climb over a bunch of debris, think giant slabs of concrete and rebar, to get into them because of the attempts to make them inaccessible to people. I know there was one that was very large, had lots of graffiti, a stage area, it was carved out of stone, and one of the bigger tunnels had what appeared to be a homeless community in it. I wouldn't be able to find them on my own. I always went with a couple guy friends of mine who had spent a considerable amount of time exploring all the caves that they could find. Those same guy friends managed to find a smaller cave, still a good size though, that no one else knew about, and it was a popular place for us to hang out in. They had been going there for years. I don't recall exactly how they found it. It was not easy to get to though. The opening was on the side of a kinda steep wooded hill, and you had to use a rope to climb down a shaft. It was slanted, not straight down. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.